Hello, everybody, and happy Thursday, and of course, welcome to the Daily Dirty 30 here on the Kevin Lee Show. I am, of course, your host, Kevin. Should have my name somewhere down here in the corner. This way, right here, boom. And then, of course, like I said, it is the Daily Dirty 30 that airs Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please make sure to subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you know when we're going. Otherwise, you can always watch us on replay on any of the services that you do, as well as podcasts. We're everywhere. Can't miss us. That being said, today we are going to be talking about something that I do not want to be talking about. Now, I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're saying, Kevin, it's your show. You can talk about whatever you want. And you're right. I can technically talk about whatever I want. But that being said, I feel compelled sometimes to talk about something. And when I'm going throughout my day and something just grabs me and takes a hold of me, I feel like I have no choice but to talk about it. And typically, being that it's 2020, everything's going to either have something to do with coronavirus or race. That being said, today, it's going to be race. Why can't we just move on? Now, I'm not being insensitive here. I'm not saying that there is no such thing as racism in any form, or that there aren't people who aren't being oppressed in any way, shape, or form, or there aren't issues and things that we need to conquer. That's not what this is about. What this is about is one specific case dealing with, excuse me. This was a post that was, or on the website, I guess it's a post, so technically, on the website for the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. Pardon me. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I saw it posted, surprise, surprise, on Twitter. And with it was some of the infographics that this National Museum of African American History and Culture, also known as the NMAAHC, decided to publish. Now, obviously, being the National Museum of African American History and Culture, they're going to usually speak about most things that involve African Americans and their history and their culture. Makes sense. But that's not exactly what this was about. We'll get to that in a minute. Well, I guess I'll give you a sneak peek. The National Museum of African American History and Culture wants to make you aware of certain signs of whiteness. Now, that's kind of an odd statement. Whiteness. Whiteness is, I don't know, being white, right? Isn't that what whiteness is all about, right? It's being white. Well, no. Apparently, whiteness involves individualism, hard work, objectivity, the nuclear family, progress, respect for authority, delayed gratification, and oh, so much more. Yes, you did hear me correct. Apparently, only white people believe in individualism. Only white people believe in hard work. Only white people believe in the nuclear family or progress or respect for authority. Apparently, we're the only ones. I didn't know. I didn't get the memo, but that's how it works out sometimes, you know? Boy. Okay, so sorry, I was getting a slide ready. I went one slide too far. I apologize. I don't mean to waste everyone's time. But yeah, so we're going to talk about why can't we just move on? Now, this doesn't mean why can't white people move on. This doesn't mean why can't black people move on. This doesn't mean why people of color can't move on. This is why, as we as a society, why can't we just move on? Just move on, move along, start tackling the next thing. Now, I'm not saying we can't deal with certain situations, and we can make a list of things that need to be taken care of, any grievances, and we should do that, and we should attack them. That's progress. We can do this. We can work together and do this. But we can't do that when the National Museum of African American History and Culture wants to separate us, if you will. right? And I know you're saying, "Oh, Kevin, you're not trying to separate us. Don't be so melodramatic." Oh, okay. Well, we'll get there in a minute. But before we do, I figure it would behoove us, yes, I did say behoove, to look at a couple of definitions. Now, I just took these. These are snapshots right from Google. I just literally put in define whiteness, and this is what came up, because they actually have a definition of whiteness, because 2020. All right, so here we go. Whiteness is defined. It's a noun, and it is defined as the property or quality of being white in color. Okay, that one I think most people can agree with. You know, you might have a white lamp, a white car, excuse me, a white car, a white, who knows, object, what have you. It's also the quality of being very pale. Okay, well, I guess that would be white, right? And then it goes on to say the fact or state of belonging to a human group having light-colored skin. Now, if that isn't a loaded definition, I don't know what is, right? And I'm not trying to like muddy the waters already, but think about that. It says the fact or state of belonging to a human group having light-colored skin. Well, is that just white people saying light-colored? I mean, what if someone is 25% black and their skin is very light-colored? Are they light-colored? Are they considered to be white? Do they belong to the whiteness category? I think there's some people who would say yes, they do. I mean, again, I don't want to get into some really deep conversation about what it means to be black or how black you have to be and blah, 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 blah. I think all that's just silly. But, you know, is it 50%? Is that the threshold? You're 49%, you're not black, but you're 51%, you're all good? Is it one drop? And if so, then why do other blacks say to other blacks, or why do certain blacks say to other blacks, you know, you're not black because you're too light? Or why is there even hatred between different shades of people, right? It happens. I mean, it's not necessarily common, but it does happen. There's no doubt about that. So, but let's move on from the whiteness thing. I just thought it was an interesting thing that Google, of course, Google has a definition for whiteness that is divisive just in itself. Sorry, but it is. All right, so we're moving on to number two. Number two is the term white fragility. Now, this is not an old term. This is a newer thing. Again, it's a noun, and the noun does say discomfort or defensiveness on the part of a white person when confronted by information about racial inequality and injustice. Again, let me read that so you can understand, in case you're listening at home on the podcast. Discomfort and defensiveness on the part of a white person when confronted by information about racial inequality and injustice. Again, kind of a loaded definition, because how do you define discomfort? How do you define defensiveness? Because if I say anything, is that defensive? Are you automatically saying, well, you're defensive, you're obviously guilty, or you're whatever? Or maybe I'm stating facts. Is that defensive? To many people, especially on a certain side of the political spectrum, that's considered to be defensive. And then when confronted about information about racial inequality and injustice. Now, I agree there are people who are hypersensitive, and I don't know what their reason is for being. Yeah, I'm more than happy to listen to a conversation. I don't get all defensive. I don't get all in your face. I want to listen to either your plea or your emotions or your facts, and I will either agree or disagree or whatever. But if I disagree, does that make me defensive? I don't know. And then it also says, when confronted by information, not facts, information. Now, what is information? How do you define the term information? Information can be almost anything. Information can be anecdotal. It could be, well, I know this, and this because this is my life experience. Well, that doesn't make it fact. It just makes it your life experience. It's anecdotal, right? Is that considered good enough information for me to get upset with? If you might say, like, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say that you are a white person who grew up in a neighborhood and you had a bad encounter as a child with a group of black kids, right? And maybe you've wrongly now associated that behavior with black people, and now you've got this little bias towards you, right? That's their fact. That's how they see the world. It's how they know the world, right? But wouldn't most people call them a racist if they were to treat black people throughout their whole life different because of that encounter? Right? But now let's flip it and say, well, what if you're a black person who had poorly treated by white people? And they act that same. Are they a victim, or are they being racist as well, right? So when a person is confronted by information about racial inequality and injustice, it can't just be information. It has to be fact. It can't be anecdotal. It can't be anything of the sort. I think I should have brought more ginger ale. Losing my voice. Okay, so first off, we had whiteness, and now we have white fragility. What could be next? Well, actually, what's next is going to be what came again from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. This is an infographic, a whole thing they have, and there's a whole website that you can look up. It's right there on the website. This is not manufactured. This isn't photoshopped or anything of the sort. Now, I know some people here will actually read these infographics and might be like, okay, well, I don't see the big deal. Other people might be the 180 degrees from that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see when we get there, but let's get there right now. Let's go to the first infographic, shall we? This is again, this is from a section called Talking About Race from the NMAAHC, Aspects and Assumptions of Whiteness and White Culture in the United States. Once again, let me read that again for people at home who are listening. Aspects and Assumptions of Whiteness and White Culture in the United States. It says white dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including people of color. So, what this is saying in a snapshot is that white people have been the majority in this country for a long time, and because we as Americans do certain things, well, obviously it must be white culture because majority of people have been white and still are. I mean, we're still well over 60%. That being said, that's scheduled to be flipped in what, 30 years, I think they said? Was it in 2050 we're supposed to become the minority or a minority or whatever? Can't wait for that day. But yeah, that's very interesting. White dominant culture or whiteness refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. Now, you might wonder, in what ways has whiteness been accepted and become our culture? Let me blow this up a little bigger so everyone at home who is watching this can see. Okay, so breaks it into sections. The first section, for those again who can't see the infographic, is called Rugged Individualism. It says the individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance, independence and autonomy highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. These are considered to be white characteristics. This is white culture. This is whiteness. This is how they're defining whiteness. Okay, let me read that again. So this is defined as whiteness. The individual is the primary unit. White people are self-reliant. White people are independent and autonomous, and autonomy highly valued and rewarded within whiteness and white culture. White culture says that individuals assume to be in control of their environment. Okay, so there's kind of a mixed bag there. Some things you might agree with, some things not so much. So let's move on to the next one, because again, we only have about 16, 17 minutes left, and I've got a number of points to get through, so I don't want to spend too much time in any one place. Next one is called family structure. Again, this is whiteness and white culture. This is referring to white people and white culture. The nuclear family, a father, mother, 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. So what they're saying is, I don't know, a mother, a father, and kids that you can handle are considered to be white culture. A husband is breadwinner and head of household. Again, this is white culture. Wife is homemaker and subordinate to the husband. This is white culture, apparently. I'm not really sure what they're getting at here, but okay. Children should have own rooms and be independent. This is white culture. So apparently, white kids should have their own bedrooms, but not anyone else. No people of color of any sort. No Native Americans, no Asians, just white people should have their own bedrooms. And we should only have a mother and father in households, in white households. apparently, according to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Okay, moving on. Emphasis on scientific method. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it's hard to get through that one. I'm going to say it again without laughing. So, the aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture include an emphasis on scientific method. It's a white thing, apparently. So, objective, rational, linear thinking is a white way of thinking, and apparently the wrong way of thinking. Cause and effect relationships is white culture, allegedly. Quantitative emphasis. Really? Emphasis on scientific method is a white thing? So there are no black scientists anywhere in the world? It's just a white thing? I mean, I can understand making certain arguments throughout these infographics, but saying scientific method is a white thing? That makes absolutely zero sense to me. Sorry, it just does. Oh boy, there's more. This is just the first page. Aesthetics. Based on European culture. Well, because most white people came from Europe, okay? And when they came over and we formed America, that's the way it was. It wasn't a white thing. It was just who the people were. Steak and potatoes. Bland is best. What? Steak and potatoes are not bland. I'm sorry. I'm going to take offense at that one right there. They're not bland. I love steak and potatoes, but it's got to be done right. You know what I'm saying? Women's beauty is based on blonde, thin Barbie. Really? You don't think there are any white guys who are into brown girls? Really? Anyways, man's attractiveness based on economic status, power, and intellect. Now, I will agree. Men are viewed to be more attractive when they have money and they have power and they're intelligent. It doesn't make a difference if you're white or black or Asian or whatever you might be. Just more attractive. Holidays based on Christian religions. 2 holidays, but okay, let's just say holidays. Holidays are based on white history and male leaders. Well, there's probably a little truth to that, but it was all white male leaders who founded the country. So they're the ones who kind of set the things in path. And since then, there have been tons of changes in holidays. I mean, has anyone heard of Kwanzaa? Just saying. All right. So, oops, I went way too fast here. What am I going on? Whoa, I'm jumping all over the place. All right. So, oh, I see what I'm doing. I'm going the wrong direction here. Okay. So, could jump back a little bit. There's a part here where it's called Protestant work ethic. Okay. Hold on. I totally missed a whole section. I apologize. How much time I had? Okay, I got to go. All right. So based on Northern European immigrants' experience in the United States, heavily focused on the British Empire and the primary of Western Greek, Roman, Judeo-Christian tradition. Again, this is Europeans who came over. This was their history they brought with them. Protestant work ethic. Hard work is the key to success. Okay. So apparently a good work ethic is a white thing. Whites apparently believe that work comes before play. That apparently is a whiteness. If you didn't meet your goals, you didn't... Oh boy, cut off on me. Oh no. All right, so we lost that part. Okay, so we're going on. We did the religion. Okay, so we did religion. Didn't we? Okay, no, we didn't. All right, so the religion section will say, I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, it's saying religion. Christianity is the norm. Now, there are still probably more Christians than anybody, but that's withering away, and I think anyone knows that. Anything other than Judeo-Christian tradition is foreign. Well, again, the people who came over were mostly Christians and Jews. And very few Jews even at that. And that's what's known as Judeo-Christian traditions. And those have been changing for the last 2 centuries, if you haven't paid attention, especially in the last 30 years. No tolerance for deviation from single God concept. So now apparently monolithic traditions, monolithic religions is a white thing. So if you're black, you can't believe in one God. Not even the Trinity, apparently, because That's three gods in one. So it's one God. So you can't believe in that if you're a person of color. Status, power, and authority. Wealth equals worth. Now there we agree. I think that is an absolutely terrible thing. And I don't think it's a white thing. I just think that's a capitalistic thing. I think that's a first world thing. Same thing with your job is who you are. That's not a white thing. That's just, people have to hang their head on something. And because it's tangible and you can talk about it and you can show about it and you spend more hours at work than you do with anyone else in your life, people have a tendency to do that with their job and their careers. And they spend their entire adolescent lives and young adulthoods earning degrees to do those jobs. So yes, the jobs are important to them. But your job should not define who you are. And your wealth should not equal your worth. I completely agree with that. Again, not a white thing. Okay. Kind of want to take a time out, but I'm not going to. Okay. Respect authority. Respect authority is a white thing, apparently. Heavily value on ownership of goods, space, and property. Apparently, no one takes pride in the things that they have. No one likes their cars, their shoes, or their house, or anything else unless you're white. Apparently, whites plan for future and no one else does. Apparently, whites have delayed gratification. Progress is always best. Have you met a Republican? No. Tomorrow will be better, meaning they have a positive outlook. That's a white thing, apparently. Follow rigid time schedules. Go to sleep so you can wake up and go to school. Go to sleep so you can wake up and go to work. Oh, there's that work ethic again. It's a white thing. Time viewed as a commodity. Well, time is a commodity. Sorry. It's the only thing that we can actually spend. It's truly ours, is our time. That's not a white thing. That's a human thing. Actually, I did the whole aesthetics thing already. Holidays based on Christian religion to the justice based on English common law. Again, we came over from England. It's not rocket science. Protect property and entitlements. You mean like wanting to defend someone from breaking into your house? That's not a white thing. Intent counts. Well, apparently intentions matter to white people, but to nobody else. I didn't know that. I learned something new today, apparently. Competition. Be number one. Win at all costs. Winner, loser dichotomy. Action orientation. Master and control nature. Must always do something about a situation. Aggressiveness and extroversion. Decision making. Apparently decision making is a white thing. I didn't know. Majority rules. Haven't you ever heard of electoral college? Jeez, it's not a white thing. All right, so now we're going to be on the last page. Communication. The King's English rules. It's a white thing. Apparently us speaking English is a white thing. I don't really know what to say about that, because if we didn't speak English, what else would we speak? French? Spanish? German? Russian? I mean, hell, if we didn't win World War II, we would all be speaking German, right? But there goes that competition thing, What did it say? Where we have to be number one and win at all costs, Let tens of thousands of our people die so we can win a war so we don't all get put into camps and speak German. All right. Written tradition. Apparently, writing things down is a white thing. I did not know that. I didn't know that. Avoiding conflict and intimacy. I just think that's an awkward thing. I don't think it's a white thing or a black thing or a Hispanic thing or anything, Asian thing. It's just people who avoid conflict, people who avoid intimacy, we call them Generation Z. That's what we call them. That's what those people are. I don't avoid conflict. Obviously, I have a show. I'm telling you exactly how I feel. I'm a white guy. Don't show emotion. Really? Are we going to go there? Don't show emotion. Nobody gets angry or excited. No, doesn't happen. Not at all. No one's voice ever raises up. No one ever fights. Sort of. Anyways, don't discuss personal life. Again, that's a personal decision. There are people from every race and every gender. Some people share absolutely nothing except for their closest friends, their closest confidants. Some people are a little bit more open. Some people are an open book. I kind of fall into that category. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, if you know what I mean. Okay, and we're going to close this out, apparently. Apparently, it is a white thing to be polite. That is probably the most ridiculous thing on this list. I have met people of every color, of every race, of every ethnicity, from every part of the world. And I've met the nicest, most polite people in the world and the rudest people, and they all come from each group. Being polite is just it's a thing that you learn. It's a thing that your parents teach you. It's a thing you learn in a polite society. You know, you open the door for someone. You say please. You say thank you. Do you not teach your children to say please and thank you? If not, what is wrong with you? If anyone is a problem, it's you. You're the problem. It's not a white thing. It's not a black thing. It's not a race thing. It's not a African-American history culture thing. It's just a thing people should do. You should be polite. When someone is nice to you, be nice to them. When they're kind to you, be kind to them. And when they're rude to you, you be kind to them. Take the higher road. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Be polite. White thing. White culture. Be polite. Well, as I was saying, this image comes from the NMAA or AAHC. Some aspects and assumptions of white culture in the United States. This is this whole delivery they have. It's by these people. And it's from 1990. It's not even a new thing. They've been talking about this for years. And the thing is, it's still up there and they're still promoting it. I'm sorry. But it's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable to be pushing these narratives in any day or age. People should want to come together. People should want to work together, right? But they're not. Why? Because crap like this is out there. People are talking about it. People are talking, again, I'm not going to talk about race again for a while because we need a break from it. But that being said, I'm just going to say this real quickly. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, the movement, amazing. The sentiment, wonderful. The organization, not so much. They are literally run by Marxists. Their what we believe section uses terms like comrade and to want to eliminate the nuclear family and do all these other things and raise children in villages. And no, that is divisive. Now, the average person who goes to a protest or believes in Black Lives Matter does not believe that garbage. So let's get that straight right now. That being said, separate yourselves. Don't talk about everything as being Black Lives Matter. Make up a new term. I don't know. Black people's lives. No, Black people matter. Let's go with that because they do. And right now we should be focused on improving their life, right? And once we kind of make some ground in that area, we'll go on to the next section. Maybe it's Native Americans, maybe it's Hispanics, maybe it's whatever. We have a lot of work to do. Everyone has work to do. Everyone. Me, you, everybody. So stop it. Okay? This is ridiculous. We are acting like children. Stop separating people. Stop putting out propaganda that is making people upset. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Right? I mean, what good comes out of this? I don't know how old you are. Maybe you're a child yourself. Maybe you're 15. Maybe you're 25. Maybe you're thinking about having kids. Think about this. Think about the life you've lived. Think about your little brothers or sisters or your older siblings or your kids or your grandkids, or maybe you're a smaller child and you're thinking about what it's going to be like when you get to be an adult. Just work for the common good. Work to help people. Work to make this world a better place. When you see wrong, call it out. I don't give a crap if you're white or black or what you are. Just call it for what it is. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy, and let's just do this. This is ridiculous. We need to move on. We're sitting at a place, we recognize something, we all recognize it. Let's agree and let's move on. Let's work together to getting to a solution. Let's get together to figure this out, right? That's all I have to say for today. So anyways, I thank you all for coming here. Thank you for joining me on the Daily Dirty 30. I do this 5 nights a week at 9 p.m. Central, right here. You can actually go to my website, thekevinleeshow.com, and you're going to find everything and anything you will ever want to know about The Kevin Lee Show right there. So I recommend doing it. Otherwise, you can just subscribe onto whatever service you use. May it be podcast, like an audio, or if it's on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or Twitter, you can find me. So enjoy. We'll see you guys tomorrow and have a good night.